Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We will be starting our webinar shortly. We're just going to hold on for a couple more minutes and wait for a few of the stragglers to join us for tonight's webinar on the 4-up, 1-up. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so thank you once again for joining us for this evening's webinar. As you can see, this evening's webinar is on the 4-up, 1-up pilot project that we'll be running the summer of 2016. My name is Cole Houghton. I'm the Regional Manager for Player Development for the OSA. On March the 30th, we have another pilot project webinar coming up, which is called Let Us Play, and once again, I will be conducting that webinar. And on April the 14th, we'll have our final webinar of the season, and that will be with Billy Wilson, the Regional Manager for Player Development in the East, and that is going to be looking at I am a grassroots soccer parent. So I'd encourage you to register for these webinars early. Registration is open, so you can log on and register for these webinars after this evening's webinar. So as again I mentioned, my name is Cole Houghton. I'm the Regional Manager for Player Development for the west part of Ontario, and tonight we're going to discuss the 4-up, 1-up pilot project, which will be happening in the summer of 2016. This webinar is being recorded, so it will be available to our membership on the OSA website within the next couple of days. And throughout tonight's webinar, if you do have questions, I'm joined by Billy Wilson, who's at home in Richmond Hill, and Billy will be able to answer any questions. So at the on the right hand side of your screen, you can type in your questions, and Billy will do his best to answer them as fastly as possible. So on tonight's webinar, we're going to look at the current environment within grassroots soccer. We're going to take a look at what is the 4-up, 1-up. We're going to look at when and where the 4-up, 1-up will take place, and we're going to look at the procedure that will happen when the 4-up, 1-up is in play. So with our current grassroots environment, we're encouraging an inclusive approach to grassroots soccer at the U12 and below age groups, looking at every player that wants the opportunity to play development soccer should be given that opportunity. So we're looking at as many children playing the game as possible. So we're looking at soccer for all. And one of our philosophies in the player development department is that all children deserve the opportunity to play grassroots soccer at the age or the level and stage that they wish to play. So with that being said, at the development level, we do have a mixture of abilities. We have players that have entered the game from the age of 4, so they could have been within the game for 4 or 5 years. But we also have players that are newcomers to the game that may have got to the U8 level and decided, hey, I want to play development soccer. And that's their first year or the first step into grassroots soccer. So we have a wide range of abilities within our development program. We encourage and recommend that game day rosters are used at the grassroots level. We've now taken away what we used to call teams, and now players have, or clubs and teams have the flexibility to be able to move players around their rosters based on who they're playing, to make sure that the game is age appropriate. And in some districts we do have tiering, so we have target and we have development tiers. And with all of those situations within our current environment, at times we get a lopsided field. We get an environment where some teams are stronger than other teams, or clubs are stronger than other clubs, and at times the game can be a little bit lopsided. And when we're talking about lopsided in grassroots soccer, we're looking at teams running up the score, teams or clubs beating other clubs 5, 6, 7, nothing. And of course that's no good for anybody, and that's not what we want to see at the grassroots game. So with an uneven playing field, we get the following situations happening. Children get bored. If I'm on a team that continually dominates and is beating other teams 5, 6, 7, nothing, as a player, I'm bored. If I'm that goalkeeper in that goal that's on the team that's running up the score, I'm not getting any action. And it's also, on the other hand, teams that are losing the game heavily, those children are getting bored and are not enjoying the game. So we have a lot of unhappy children. We have children not learn. Nobody's learning when a game is being won 5, 6, 7, nothing. The children are going through their motions and the children are in their comfort zones. And again, on the other hand, children are not learning when they're getting beat 8, 9, nothing. So we've got to try to find a balance here to enable everybody to be on an even playing field. We have children drop out of sports. At the moment, statistics show by the time children reach the age of 13, 70% of children are dropping out of sports. One of those reasons is because they're getting beat. They're getting destroyed by other teams that are going out there and just racking up the score. And of course, when you're racking up the score, you're not getting challenged. Players are not getting challenged. They're not in that challenge zone. And teams start to not compete. Also, when teams start to run up the score, they have a false sense of talent. Their parents think that they're the superstars. Their coaches think that they're the superstars, when really we're all grassroots soccer players and everyone has the potential to become better. So we're looking to be able to give the children a correct sense of where they currently stand. So here's just a photograph of children playing street soccer. And there's a question at the top. When children play street soccer, what do they do? So I'm going to use the example of a game that's 4 or 5 nothing when the children are playing free street soccer. If the score starts to get run up, the children will actually stop the game and they will make a couple of changes to the teams. They will move a stronger player to the other team, to the losing team, and a player that's not as strong to the losing team. Now they've evened out the competition to try to create a better competition whilst they're playing their street soccer. So if we left it down to children, children would actually fix the problem themselves. So as adults, we've got to use our common sense, and we've brought in the 4-up, 1-up rule to try to level that playing field. And quite simply, we're trying to level the playing field so that everybody involved in development soccer is getting a fair crack of the whip. Everyone's playing against age and stage appropriate children, and everyone's leaving the field happy. Everyone's leaving the field having fun with smiles on their faces. So with this 4-up, 1-up pilot project, it's been run and piloted in 3 districts across Ontario this summer season. It's been run in EODSA, Durham Region Soccer Association, and Huronia District Soccer Association. So those 3 districts are piloting this project for the summer of 2016. From a play development standpoint, we would like to thank them for offering their services. Obviously, this is another big undertaking, and we'd like to thank them for offering their districts to pilot these projects. Without the districts offering their services, we wouldn't be able to pilot the projects that we have in place So we thank them for offering their services. So what is the 4-up, 1-up? So when a club is losing by 4 goals, they can add a player. So we're not keeping scores or standings, but everybody at the game knows what the score is. The children know the score, the coaches know the score. So if a club is losing the game by 4 goals, the losing team can add an extra player to the game. So it could be a at the U8 level, it could be a 5 versus 5 game, and the losing team that's losing by 4 goals can add that extra player to make it 5 versus 4. And it's a simple conversation between the coaching staff. We don't have to make a big deal out of this. It's a simple conversation between 2 coaches to say, hey, the score's 4-0. I'm going to add the extra player now to see if we can balance this game. Referees don't have to get involved. We can make the official aware of this, the game leader aware of this. However, it's a simple conversation between the 2 coaching staffs. If the goal difference becomes 3 goals, then another player from that team is removed from the field. So we now go back to 5 versus 5. It does not have to be the same player that was added. It could be any additional player or any other player on the team can come off to now put the game back to 5 versus 5. If the scenario ever happens where we have an 8-goal difference, the team that's losing by 8 goals can again add a second player. So in the 5 versus 5 game, it would now be 7 versus 5 to the team that is losing by 8 goals. Obviously, we don't want to see games going to 8 goals. So if games are going to 8 goals, as we review our pilot project, we'll have to have a look at who's using game day rosters correctly, who's creating appropriate competition. And it will it will be reviewed at the end of the season, and we'll review it with all 3 districts. We'll review it with participants, coaching staff that have participated in the pilot project to get their opinion and feedback, with the hope that if everything goes well in 2017, we can look to bring this across the whole grassroots playing levels. So the 4-up, 1-up, it's going to create better competition for all children. It's going to create better competition for those children that are a little bit more skilled, who are beating teams a little bit more. And it's also going to create a better, appropriate competition for the teams that are losing those games. We do have no scores and standings, so the score really shouldn't matter. We shouldn't have coaches running up the score. Again, everyone at the game knows the score, so how can we use common sense to keep the game appropriate for all of our players and provide an appropriate challenge for everybody? Just by adding that extra player for the team that's losing could now allow them to keep ball possession, to get an attack moving, to get a shot at goal. So it's going to provide appropriate challenges for everybody, whilst now also providing a challenge for the team that's winning the game. That goalkeeper that's sat at the other end and not touched the ball, now because they're playing against an extra player, now hopefully we can get him or her to look to make a save and to be challenged. Adding an extra player to those teams that are losing, it's going to keep players encouraged and motivated. They have an opportunity to get back into the game now. And everything we do, we have to keep it in mind that this is player-centered. It's about the individual players and doing what's right for the players. It's not about teams winning the games 5 or 6-0. It's about individual players, keeping them motivated and challenged to stay within our game. And for us adults, it's about using common sense. As a coach, we don't want to be running up the score. If we're a coach at the grassroots level that's running up the score, perhaps we shouldn't be coaching U8 soccer players. Perhaps we should be looking at coaching in the adult game. But it's about using common sense, recognizing how the children are feeling, looking at the environment that we're creating for these children, and just making it enjoyable and keeping it a player-centered environment. So in summary, we have the 4-up, 1-up pilot project, which is going to happen for the summer of 2016. The pilot project is going to be run in 3 districts: EODSA, DRSA, and HDSA, Huronia District Soccer Association, Durham Region Soccer Association, and Eastern Ontario District Soccer Association. It's going to happen at the U8 festivals. The 4-up, 1-up will come into effect at a 4-goal advantage for the team that's winning the game. So the team that is losing the game can add that extra player. And we're looking to keep a player-centered approach in everything that we do. That is the end of the 4-up, 1-up pilot project webinar. Very simple, very brief, but hopefully it has got the point across in the rationale behind why we're doing the 4-up, 1-up pilot project. Hopefully you've had the opportunity to ask Billy any questions. If anybody does have a question that hasn't been answered tonight, please feel free to email myself at chorton@soccer.on.ca. On March the 30th, we do have the Let Us Play pilot project coming up. And then on April the 14th, we have I'm a Grassroots Soccer Parent, another webinar for our grassroots parents out there. I'd like to thank you for attending tonight's webinar. After the webinar has finished, there will be a survey for you to fill out. Please take the time to fill the survey out. It gives us great feedback. We review the survey so that as we move forward with our webinars, we can plan appropriately and give our members what they'd like to see. So thank you for attending tonight's webinar. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Have a great season.